Alright guys, so this is my official review for my 2018 WRX. This is a base model and I had it for over 4 years now, so I wanted to tell you guys the good and the bad and try to get in-depth and like some basic reviews. So yeah, let's get into it. So I want to go into interior first. So I'm only strictly talking about the base model, not the premium or the limited. So the base model for the WRX is literally what it means. It's the base model. So the steering wheel, I'm not sure it's full leather, but it feels like leather. And you have this shifter right here. So one gripe that everyone has for the shifter of the WRX is if you put in first, see how much play it is, but if you put in third, it's pretty stiff. So that's why people have this shifter stopper right here for first and second. Reverse is like this right here, pretty simple. And overall the throws are pretty long, but it feels very mechanical and clunky if you like that style. The clutch pedal, it's pretty heavy for what it is, but it's not the heaviest. But I felt other cars like the STI or other like the Lotus, it's those cars are much softer compared to this clutch. So yeah, automatic windows only in the front windows. The rear ones you have to manually do it. This car doesn't automatically lock, so you gotta lock it yourself. And headlights, you have to manually do it since this is the base. Every other trim like the STI or the Premium and Limited WRX, it comes with automatic headlights. And let's see, it's only one zone climate control. I don't really care about the dual zone because every time I do it, I just literally sync it. The infotainment is probably not the best. So one big thing that you gotta know is that if you're driving and you have the volume set up to like 10 and somehow you drive a little faster, the car automatically the volume goes up. And I went to the settings to change it to like remove that feature, but still sometimes sorry, when you go downhill the volume will also like drop for all of a sudden, and then a few seconds later it'll just go back up. So the sound system, not the best. And one thing that this car all has is the heated mirrors, but it doesn't come in blind spot. Blind spot you have to get, I believe you have to get the limited version, which is not an option. You have to get the limited version, so you can't just option it as for any trim level, I would say. And this is where you adjust the brightness of your digital cluster, instrument cluster. This is to open the rear trunk. Windshield wipers, pretty standard. This car does have cruise control, which is pretty neat, but I really don't use it. And these infotainment buttons right here. This right here you can toggle. Let me get the key. So you start up the car. It does a sweep. You can turn that sweep off or on, whatever you like. So if you press these buttons right here, it will toggle this. And there's a blank screen, and you can do settings like this. I just like to leave it at the speed. So the cool thing about the WRX platform is that it has this right here. You can change any 3 of these to whatever you want. I like to keep it at the acceleration pedal, average miles per gallon, and of course the oil temp. Oil temp is very important. If you want to baby your car, let it heat up to about, I would say 160 plus, and then you can go a little bit hard on the car. And always make sure that your coolant temp is there, because your coolant will rise much quicker than your oil temp. So don't rely on this. Always check on the oil temp first. You also have a boost gauge right here. The WRX goes to about 16.5 psi. Then you can change everything right here. You also have this slide right here. It could show the pitch angle of your car and the traction of which wheel is slipping and where the power is going to. And right here is the range I have for my car. I have 40 miles left. My average for total driving is 22.5. Not bad, but compared to other cars, the WRX is quite good if you are a conservative driver. On the freeway, going in like going 6th gear, I can average about 30 miles per gallon plus if I don't go aggressive. But if you go aggressive, you can still get above 20 miles per gallon, so that's still pretty good. And the fuel tank, I would say you would be getting around 300 miles plus. At the rare occasions, I would get 400 miles per gallon. So it all depends on your driving. If your MPG is bad, they will calculate it within your range and your range will drop. But if your MPG is good, your range will increase. So it's just whatever, dependent on how fuel efficient you're driving at the moment. So yeah, let's see what else. AC, the only thing I figured out is that I usually would only click AC like this, and it would take a long time to cool down. But then I'm so dumb. If you press automatic, it does the recirculation, so it cools the same air in the cabin to make it much cooler, instead of always trying to cool the ambient air outside, which is awesome. Right here, it has the home link right here, so you can open the garages. It also has this compass right here, which I don't really use, but it's cool to have. This also has an auto dimmer right here, so if someone has their hella high beams on, annoying ass people, you can press it to dim this rear view mirror right here. The lights are halogen, not LEDs, which honestly I don't really care. You have this right here, and what else? Parking brake right here, pretty standard, feels pretty good. You got 2 cup holders and this little, I feel like it's a coin change. You have some space right here, but it doesn't really fit an iPhone. It does fit like this, but if you have a charger right here, it doesn't really fit that good. You can also charge right here. And if you have, so the base model does not have heated seats. This is where you have heated seats. It sucks, but don't really use it that much in California. You also have an aux cable, a USB port, and a 12-volt outlet. So not bad. Storage is pretty deep, but if you fill it up a lot, it's not that much space. And you also have your glove compartment. Not that much space as well, but more than enough for everyone. And yeah, I'm gonna go to the seats first. Let me turn off the car. Always put it in first. Are you first or a second manual guy? Put in first. So in the rear seats, you also have window controls right here. You do have the capability of opening and unlocking the door by yourself, unlike other cars. Sorry, I'm pretty sick right now. So the way I sit, it's pretty decent room space, not that much. This is where the seat is extended all the way back. So if I were to sit here, that would be pretty annoying, but if the front person is not an asshole, then I guess you can just sit a little bit more space. Unlike other all-wheel drive cars, the center seat is pretty good, but with most car that has a pretty tall tunnel, the center seat person doesn't have that much space. So the one thing I hate about this car is that there's no air vents in the rear, which kind of sucks because when it gets pretty hot, the rear passengers want some comfort, but they don't. So that's why we always have to direct the front, the 2 center air vents close to me, or the rear passengers. But yeah, the seats are cloth. They're actually not that bad. The bolstering is okay for what it is. Material wise, these don't really get that damage because it's cloth. These things will last a lot. You just gotta water clean it a little bit, and yeah, it's pretty good. Subaru has this. Stupid. Oh yeah, I never knew about this before, but yeah, it's pretty cool. So the cool thing about this car, what I think, is you can open the rear seats from here. So you don't have to go inside the trunk to open it. This is a 60-40 split, 40 right here, 60 right here. And you also have right here these tether latches for little bitches, little babies. These latches for clothes. And you also have this center light, which is also halogen, which I don't really care. Oof. And all of these cars and the seats are all manual adjustable. If believe you get the limited, you can get the Recaro seats. You can option Recaro seats for a lot of trims, which has electric seats, which these do fine. The only gripe is that I would like to get it a bit lower. This is the lowest it can go. It's almost about a feet. So yeah, pedals are here, all aluminum right here. With this car, the gas pedal is a bit lower than the brake, so it's not that bad. There's someone behind me, so I don't want to turn around. There's someone behind me. They're looking at my ass right here. Anyways, you can adjust telescopic steering wheel here. I put it at the lowest spot and push it out because I want to have the steering wheel pretty close to me. And yeah, you have some space right here, cups, water. I put my coins in here like an idiot. And yeah, gas cap right here. Let me open the trunk. Hold the trunk right here. You'll hold it for a few seconds. Open the trunk. Trunk space is pretty decent. This has this weather floor mat right here. Has a little bit of rust because I have some water in here. Once you get over here, you have this bit of a cardboard right here, and this houses another foam which holds other tools. Here's the spare, the jack. You also have the jack tool right here. And after that, it's just aluminum, so there's no sound deadening. So pretty much, if you want to go pretty loud, take everything out here. Take this out, your car will be loud. Pull the rear seats down, amazing. And yeah, you have a brake light right here. In case you get stuck into my car or kidnap you, just pull this, you can get out. Pretty easy. Right here, these heaters for the rear windshield. I'm not sure if other cars have like this color, but if you tint it, this will be very pronounced. Some cars are all black, but this one's like a little bit of orange, which is whatever. So let's see, you got a WRX badge right here. Subaru all-wheel drive symmetric. If I were to keep this, I would pretty much remove it. And if you have any aftermarket parts, this F1 brake light you can switch out for this. You can just pop this out, put it in. And yeah, let's get into the engine, which is, I have a mixed feeling about this car. Engine latch right here, just pull this once. And if you want to look dumb, the latch should be, yep, I look dumb right now. Okay, I found it right here. So this is the FA20 engine in the WRX. It's a 2-liter turbocharged Boxer 4. It makes 268 horsepower and I believe 258 pound-feet of torque. It's pretty good for what it is. If you keep the stock exhaust, it feels really fast if you drive other slow and quiet cars. But you put in exhaust, it just feels like you're going nowhere. So air filter, this is the stock air box right here. I have a pretty new intake filter right there. So air comes in right here, goes into this, it directs it into the air box right here. You can see right there. Then this air box, whoa. Okay, anyways, so stock air box, you can get some sound if you get a better air filter that's less restrictive, but you might need a tune. There's some other like the flexible air boxes, air filters that you can buy, which they say that you don't need a tune, but with the modern cars, the ECU is able to adapt to it, so you don't have no big issues. God, there's someone right there. So engine cover. Some people take this out, but it helps direct it to the intercooler. This is top mount air-to-air intercooler. So air comes in from the hood scoop, goes in this intercooler, and you can see that it heat soaks pretty good because it's directly on below the engine. So whatever. Oil filter is right here, very easy to service. Engine oil cap right here, windshield wiper, coolant. This is the battery. The red terminal does have a cap, the black one doesn't. Brake reservoir right here. It does flex a little bit. That's why some people would buy a pitch mount. Got your ABS, ECU, your struts right here. This does not have a strut bar, so if you want to go a little bit more further with your suspension, add a strut bar. This engine cover looks kind of dumb, but yeah, not that much with the engine. Let's talk about the exhaust. So this is the stock quad exhaust right here and right there. The muffler is about, I would say, 20 plus pounds per muffler. So if you look down there, it goes to a Y pipe all the way back to the down pipe. So with the WRX, it's actually a J pipe, which is your down pipe. So the J pipe curves like a J. Here's the turbo, it curves down like that. The stock one, the J pipe splits into two, and I had a second section of the rear section of the downpipe, which is pretty much catless and non-resonated, and it straight to the second, the stock mid pipe, and then I had a muffler delay, which is the pretty loudest you can go. So technically, it's a catted downpipe, straight pipe, pretty much. And yeah, it's pretty loud. Cold starts are pretty brutal, but the droning, you could hear it in the droning in the car, but if you want loud, it's pretty cheap. If you want just loud with $0, you could just disconnect the intermediate pipe, go straight from the down pipe, and you could get a pretty loud car. So if you did had just the down pipe, you would hear the car right here. And some of the fumes will go through the chassis and you can smell it, but it sounds really good. A ton of turbo spools, and I mean, come on, who doesn't like turbo spools? So let me talk about the driving. Should I go driving or just talk about it? I'll just talk about it here, okay? So the driving experience. This car is notorious for a rev hang. A lot of people hate it. I hate it too. So if you go in first gear and you say you release the clutch, go fast. Once you go into second gear, the revs hold it there for a few seconds. So you can't shift quickly from first to second and release the clutch right away because there's a rev hang. So every time you see a stock Subaru drive from first to second, you'll hear like, huh, huh, huh. So so yeah, there's a huge rev hang. No one really likes it. It's difficult to shift from first to second right away, so there's a little bit of delay. But every other gear is pretty good. 6th gear. So on the freeway, if you let me get the key. So say you're driving on the freeway. If you're in 6th gear, going 80 miles per hour, it's exactly at 3,000. So you're pretty much in boost, but not in boost. So boost is, I would say boost is around 3.5 all the way to 6,000. And there is a pretty huge a dip in power. So you have power, then you have torque, but all of a sudden there's a dip between, I would say, 4,500 to about 5 or 5,500. There's a pretty huge dip. So the power curve is like this, and then it just dips a little bit, and then it goes a little bit. But it doesn't, this car does not pull all the way to its red line of, I would say, 68 or 67,000 RPM. So I would say this is much of a lower end car in terms of power and torque. So it's a twin scroll, so you'll get a lot of turbo shove. at the lower RPM, but at the higher RPM, unless you get a tune that tunes the car for the higher RPM, I normally shift at 4,000 and it's more than enough. But one thing about the WRX is, see the acceleration pedal? I say I'm putting like 50% right here. So if you just do without the car on, you do 100%, 100%. 50%, you get 50%. But once you get driving, because this is turbo, if you put 50%, essentially you're in boost and you're getting 100% technically. So the linearity of the pedal, acceleration pedal, is not that great, but it is turbocharged, so it's hard to mimic it. But other cars can do it. This car is just, you put 50%, you're getting 100 right away. So, but if you get a tune, of course you can change that. If you have the STI, you have the SI drive, you can change the pedal response. So, but the WRX is just one shot, one thing. Suspension is okay for what it is. It's pretty soft, and I don't know, I wouldn't say it's bumpy, but it's stiff enough. And the steering, it's electric steering, so it's light, but if you go into other cars and you come back into this car, this steering is pretty heavy, even though it's electric. And the ratio is a little bit long compared to other cars as well. But again, it's good for what it is. It's a base car, so don't expect to get anything special. I already talked about infotainment system. Let me talk about the outside. Yeah, so since I have a base, it comes with 17-inch wheels. This one is a, let me see, this is a 235 45 17. These are Dunlops. Tread wear is still pretty good for 35,000 miles. I do take it on the canyons pretty aggressively, so I'm surprised that this tire has not worn out yet. It says where is the also the tread wear is 240, unlike other higher performance tires that are about 100. And this is traction AA, so that's the highest one I believe you can go. Temperature is A as well. And this tire was made in 2018, so the 5th week of 2018. So this is a pretty good tire. Dunlops, I would say it's a pretty solid tire for what it is. My front tread is still pretty good. I do rotate the tires, and the rears are a little bit less, but still good. So the rear brakes are not that huge. It's a single piston caliper right here. I did change the brake pads to Faction Fab's brake pads for the WRX. It works pretty good. Does not brake fade at all in the canyon, so I'm really happy with that. The fronts are also a floating caliper as well, but it's a 2-piston. You can see right here, 1, 2 piston. And these are much huger than the rears, of course. And these do handle pretty well because the front takes up a lot of the load. Exterior wise, the fog bezel for the base WRX just comes with this. This is the turn light signal right here. Usually in other cars, other trims, right here will be the turn signal. And my car is the base, so it is halogen. It does not come with the C light as the daytime running lights. It's just this light right here. I'll turn on later. The front grille, pretty much every WRX or STI comes with the same front bumper, except for the bezels and the lights. I do have a front license plate because I don't want to get pulled over. These cars are pretty easy to get pulled over. I already got pulled over with this car, but you know, it's for speeding. So luckily it wasn't exhaust, so kudos to him, I guess. But did you hear my tollmate? Okay, anyways, this is not a front mount intercooler, so it just goes to the AC condenser and the radiator. Same side with this. What else should I do? What else do you guys want to know? This model does not come with the turn light right here. I'm telling you, this is just the base model as well. What else is there? Let me see these rear tires. Not that bad. Gas you fill up on this side, the right side. And what else am I missing? If you guys want a car that daily, This is a pretty good car for what it is. Fuel mileage, it all varies depending on the driver, but it's pretty good. Modification is endless with this platform. All the aftermarket support is already done already, but the WRX is still improving compared to the STI with the F820, and parts are cheap for Japanese cars. So yep, I would say this car does not overheat. But oh, also I gotta tell you, okay, if you turn on the AC, this car becomes extra slow. Okay, so the AC, it really engine brakes the car a lot, so it makes it much slower. Your car will feel very slow. But if you have an exhaust, it's pretty much like an open valve system. If you press the AC button, your exhaust will get pretty much louder because the RPMs raise higher. So it's kind of like a Valvetronic exhaust, but not. So yeah, if you turn on the AC, the car is very slow to response. You have to add additional gas to, so say you do 50%, now you have to do 75 to maintain 50%. So the car does not perform well with AC. But in the beginning, the AC was not ice cold. It was like you're trying to cool an entire house within, you're expecting a house to cool down in 1 minute. That's not how it works. It's pretty much the same with this car. But yeah, if I were to change this car, I would get rid of this top mount intercooler. I know Subaru does it. Gosh, shut up. Okay. I knew Subaru did this because the packaging is very convenient and easy to do it this way. But if I were to do it, of course the front mount is much better. The weight over the front would be acceptable in my terms. And yeah, the hood scoop is cool to have, but creates a lot of drag, and I'm not really a fan of it. If Subaru were to do it the correct way, I would have some sort of ducting to duct the air coming this way. You see that empty space here? I would have ducting to go push air through here and push air down here, so it doesn't just heat soak on top of the engine and the transmission. So yeah, that's the improvement I would do. Headlights, come on Subaru, you can't do LEDs for all your models. Does it really cost that much? At least have like an LED sea light. I will be okay with halogen headlights. Just give everyone the LED sea light right here, so everyone knows it's a Subaru. Come on, all right? The front right here, Subaru blocks this off a little bit, but a lot of it goes through here. Not that bad. Oh, what else am I missing? It's mostly the driving experience. So yeah, what else am I missing? Oh, let's go over what I had to replace. So tires I did not replace. These are still the OE tires I received. They have a bit more tread left, which you can run at least 10,000 more miles, so these are pretty good. The brakes I had to repair because I've been doing a bunch of canyon runs which use heavy braking, which I upgraded to these Factor Fab brakes. Windshield wiper blades, I had to replace those. These are now like the hybrid version for Subaru. And overall maintenance, if you're worrying about a Subaru breaking down or having that cliche ring lamp failure, it's all up to the driver, okay? So I service this car, I would say about every 5,000 miles. So it's a lot of money, but oil is still clean, baby. So it all depends on the driver. If you maintain your car, if you turn on your car, here's my steps to be a good owner of a WRX or any other car, okay? If you have a turbocharged car, or any car, I would say, when you turn on the car, let it warm up for a few seconds. Once it goes over 1,000 miles, 1,000 RPM, it's in cold start mode. Once the cold start drops to 1,000, then you can start moving. It only takes a few seconds, so just do it as a precaution. A lot of people say that modern cars now, you can just turn it on and go. It does, you can do that, but to be extra safe, just wait until it drops below 1,000. With these smaller cars, it might take a bit longer because of a smaller engine, and the engine is just trying to heat up to get it to its perfect optimum temperature for combustion. So that's what the cold start is. And after that, wait until your coolant reaches its optimal temperature. And then if you have an oil temperature gauge, wait until that oil temperature goes at least above 160 Fahrenheit. And if you don't have that, wait, like I would say 5 minutes after the coolant temperature is at its optimal temperature. And then after 5 minutes, your oil temp should be good. If it's a hotter day, it may take a little bit quicker. If it's a colder day, it might take a little bit longer. But yeah, this car is a pretty stout engine. You don't need to do much to it. If you want to modify it, go ahead. This is a good platform for it. But you're talking about stock car, these cars don't blow up. Okay, I know there are a few people that have issues with it, but they haven't done anything to the car. That's where warranty comes in, all right? But overall, people say that this car is not good because it's a boxer engine. But I'm telling you, it's all about the driver with any car, okay? You suck at driving and you drive this car like an asshole, you're always flooring it, redlining it, holding the RPMs over. If you're holding the RPMs just for no reason, you're hurting the car, right? You gotta have some empathy for the car. If redline all the time, when you're done with your driving, cruise and let it cool down. Oh yeah, with any turbocharged car, after you're done driving hard, drive a little bit slowly to cool down the car. Watch your oil temp and let it drop a little bit. Like say you're going a run after the canyons, once you're going back to whatever destination you're going to, drive normally so the car can cool down. And if your car's sitting and it's stuck in traffic and it's overheating, like just know that once you go on the freeway a little bit, it cools down right away, so the car's feeling much better. So my take is, overall, have some empathy with your car. If you think it's overheating, do something so that it has enough airflow so it doesn't overheat. Don't lug the engine, especially don't lug the engine. If you want to go fast, downshift and go to lower gear. If you want to cruise, go to the highest gear, very low gas, so low loads. And yeah, if you're going high load, high RPMs, later on cruise if you're going down straight, so not to put that much load on the car. Treat the car like a little baby, right? So yeah, this is my 4-year review on this car. Why is it so loud? This is my 4-year review on the car. Just to let you know, I bought this car as a lease. This car is a lease. I got it in 2018, and I knew I was gonna get another car, a different car, so I didn't want to be stuck with this car. And the MSRP was, let me talk on the car, it's pretty loud. Okay, so the MSRP for this car I got it was $26,400. And went to CarMax, the car has about 34,500 miles, and CarMax valued it at $24,000. So I pretty much only drove the car for about $2,400, so it's not that bad of experience. This is a lease, so I had it for 42 months for 12,000 miles in total per year. And yeah, this is my experience with WRX. I'm pretty excited to see what car I get next. Maybe it's an STI, maybe it's an RS3, maybe it's a Lotus. But if the money's right, I don't know, man. But hopefully when I get the new car, I will be able to modify it to show you guys how I would like to modify the cars and the way I approach cars in like more of an engineering way, because, you know, engineering rules. Yeah, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys liked the video. If you want me to do any more in-depth videos, I love going through the technical aspects of cars, not just the first impressions, because everyone's first impression is different. Like for me, once I had this car, I felt like this was the best car ever. Like none other car I drove, like a Honda Civic, was ever better. It felt so fast, but once you get used to a car within a few months, you'll start to realize some of the flaws that you see and some of the improvements that you don't like, some of the improvements you want to see, and some things that you don't really like. But now reverting this car back to stock, I'm gonna miss it, man. You know, Maybe the next car is a manual, maybe it's automatic, but yeah. Hope you guys liked the video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and let's see what other cars next.